Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy you joined us today. Today's going to be a different kind of day. The video today is going to be about a rough time my husband and I have been through and are going to still be going through for a long time, and that is his recent diagnosis of dementia. So I want to kind of go through a little bit of the symptoms that we had, how we found out, and how we got the diagnosis, and so forth, and how it all came about. And as a way of a little bit of background, we've been married 50 years as of this summer. We've been diagnosed, he's been diagnosed about a year and a half. And in our 50th year of marriage, y'all, I never, ever would have dreamed that we would end up like this. Not only would we end up like this, but this would be something we faced in our third act of our married life. So I met Butch when I was 17 years old. He was a big guy. He was a middle linebacker football player. Listen, I fell for him hard the first time I laid eyes on him. We started dating, and literally a year and a month later we were married. So we did get married young. It wasn't all that abnormal back in those days. But yeah, we feel like we were soulmates. God put us together. We've had a wonderful 50 years. We've lived in 5 different states and had lots of adventures. We have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. We're very blessed and we're happy with all that God's done for us. Well, as far as symptoms go, I mean, y'all, Butch is 73 this year, so I would have to say a good while ago, he started slowing down, and I started noticing some things, but who doesn't slow down, at our age? I never, ever thought or put anything to it as far as a diagnosis of any kind. I would have to say when we moved here in 15, I did begin to notice some things about mood swings and some different behavioral things. But we had been through a lot, and there will be other videos on other days that talks about some of those struggles we went through in those years. For about 5 years, we'd been through an awful lot, just life stuff. And yeah, it's enough to where it would get anybody a little bit down. Retirement's hard, by the way, y'all. You got to figure out what your purpose is, and on a daily basis, you don't know kind of what you're going to contribute. So that was part of it. So yeah, I had some apathy and things like that, but I didn't put a whole lot of weight on it. I thought it would pass and that would be fine. Now, our children that live close to us were beginning to notice other things. Forgetfulness, showing up late, showing up at the wrong place to things like fishing appointments or whatever. And they began to ask me about that, some things he would say, and we are so thankful that we have their help and their support, and I don't know what people do without family. But at the same time, I didn't take it that serious, and I said, look, y'all, if it is something, it's way early to be looking into it, and just give us a little breathing room. We're going to be all right. Just let us figure it out. We'll get it all figured out. And then that kind of started around 2020, being honest, and I just began to notice some things, and as time went on, I began to cover things up, and I didn't even know I was doing it because I didn't want to face it, and I didn't know what to do anyway. I did not know what to do about it, so we just went along our way. So anyway, and I'm a piano teacher, and at the time I had a commercial location that I paid rent on. I worked pretty late at night, I did, because most of my business comes after school hours. So anyway, I'm not getting home till 8 or 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I began to notice some other things. And I'm going to call this disorientation confusion, but mostly at this point I can confidently call them hallucinations. So those were scary. There were times I'd call him from the studio to see what's he doing, what's going on. Couldn't get a hold of him. This kind of thing. We live almost 30 minutes away because we live in the country. So there was a time or two that my daughter-in-law or my son had to drive out here and see what was going on, that kind of thing. He began to wake up at night. For about 6 months, he began to wake up at night and have what I would call serious hallucinations. They very well may be something else, delusions. They have different terms for different kinds, apparently, which I didn't know about at the time. And I'm just going to go into a few of them, just to give you an idea of what it was like. So one night I woke up in the middle of the night, and he was up with the covers up with a flashlight shining, all in there, and he was trying to, I said, what in the world, what are you, and he's trying to get the snakes out of the bed. This freaked me out at first. And so we had multiple kind of things like that going on. I think the most serious one was, and this happened 3 times, where he woke up in a rage almost, and he came up swinging, and he was convinced somebody was in the house and trying to hurt us. And he came up swinging, trying to get this person, and he literally did a full turn and fell out of that bed and fell hard. And I'm amazed that he did not break his hip or something like that. The 3rd time this happened, I went on ahead and ordered bed rails. And even that, when they came in, it was so devastating to him to have to lose that kind of dignity. But being honest, now he loves them. He's like, this helps me get out of bed. So all those little steps of losing any little bit of independence was really hard for him, and still is. So time went on, and a little bit later than that, and of course my kids were all saying, you need to do something about this. Well, I don't know what to do. And we just went along our way. Time went on, another couple months went by, and he began to have some weird numbness in his legs. Now, I had noticed that his posture had kind of changed too. He kind of started stooping over. That's a big sign, by the way. And he started to kind of shuffle more when he walked. But his legs began from knee to up to thigh began to go numb and tingle. He'd be standing up in church and we'd be singing, and one of his legs would almost collapse, and he would quickly sit down. So this began to happen, and then he began to have swollen legs and feet. He began to have all these neurological issues with his legs. So we go to his primary, and they send us to a neurologist. The neurologist says, you know what, this is probably coming from your back. We're going to get a lower lumbar scan. So they got a lower lumbar scan. It comes back, we go back for the results, and apparently he has severe spinal stenosis from all the football hits and everything, and he needs to go to the back surgeon. So she sends us over to orthopedics. She also tells us for him to hardly move before he can get there, because he could go paralyzed. He could be paralyzed if he drives, she just scared us ever loving half to death. So it took us 3 weeks to get in there, even with the referral, so that was a scary time. So we got to the back doctor. He looks at the scan and he says, you know what, this isn't going to paralyze you, but if your lower back looks this bad, we better check out your neck. So he goes back and he gets the neck done, and he flips out. He totally flips out. He says, oh my gosh, I don't know why you're not paralyzed now. This is hanging on by a thread. So they rush us into the hospital. Literally did surgery on a Sunday, and they never do surgery on Sundays at this hospital. Fix that. So now he has had surgery here, which has nothing to do with his legs. This had to do with something else they found. So we're like, okay. So we go back after that. He recovers from that. We go back for our post-op checkup. Now, by the way, all this time, we are not thinking anything about what's going on up here. We're just dealing with this other thing. So we go back for that, and they do another scan. Right there in the office, they did a scan, and they did one that had his whole brain. And they begin to notice that he has significant brain mass volume loss in this scan. So we're like, what? I mean, what does that mean? And then he begins to ask Butch a lot of questions. He asks Butch to walk with him. And then Butch also starts this is exactly how he said. He said, you know what, while we're in here, Butch says, I am going to own up to some things. I'm going to be honest. And he starts sharing this stuff that I didn't know a thing about. Like he had a tremor in one. I had never seen it, and it only happened now and again. And then he looked at me. The doctor said, okay, something else is going on. We're going to send him back to the neurologist. So they send us back to the neurologist. And when we went back to the neurologist, they began to ask all kinds of different questions. Now, mind you, I've been keeping a journal of all these hallucinations, delusions, all his confusion moments, and all the things that had been happening, just because I didn't know what was going to come of it. Well, I began to share them. And when I did that, they said, we need some testing. So they did some testing, psychological, this and that. Long story short, I know all of this has taken over a year to happen. And I didn't even mention they went on ahead 3 months later and did the lower back surgery because of the spinal stenosis there. He has been through it. But then they came back and diagnosed him with Lewy body dementia. This was a bad day. This was a really bad day. To hear it said out loud, it was really hard. And this was in June of, no. This was in September of, it's about a year ago. It was in September of 2022. Now we live outside of a fairly large city. So we were at the place that they had sent us, and I'm not gonna go into a whole bunch of stuff. It's just that I began to notice after about 6 months that I did not think we were getting good care. And I did a lot of research. I visited a lot of people that I found out about, that knew about Lewy body and everything. And I didn't think I did not think that we were getting good care. First of all, to get the doctor on the phone, I'm not gonna go down that road. And I began to wonder. So long story short, we went on ahead and got a referral to a dementia specialist and geriatric specialist down at University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida. And they have fabulous facility down there. And we went there, and this is all that these people do. I mean, they have that is what they do. I walked in the door and knew I was at the right place. They were kind, that's the thing, y'all. I had to become an advocate for my husband because these doctors that we dealt with before, and I'm not gonna say it's all over the world, but it was so difficult, very, very difficult to get them to get off of their laptops, look at our face, and talk to us. And don't talk down to us. And that is going to be another whole video one day about how to navigate the very deep waters of being older. Go ahead and say it, I'm elderly, we're elderly. And navigate the waters of all the technology and of the medical system that we have. So I'm going to leave that alone for now. Because I did have to really stand up and say, no, we're not doing that. No, I don't know, you're not listening to me. And that was hard. But we went down there to University of Florida Medical Center down there, and it's called Shands, and it's a wonderful, wonderful place. And they are now our medical team. team, and I couldn't be more thankful. When that doctor looked at me and she said, "We are now your medical team," I just burst into tears, y'all, because I didn't have a medical team. I was figuring it out all by myself. And they did start him on a medication, which it has done a lot to stop the hallucinations. Let me tell you a little bit about some of those hallucinations again. And that is this. For instance, one night I was at work. This is kind of more in the beginning. And he called me on the phone, and I was had another hour to teach, and he said, "Why'd you come home earlier?" And I said, "So what? No, I'm not home. I'm still teaching." "Well, no, you came in and talked to me. We had a great conversation, and then I fell asleep," he said, "and when I woke up, you were gone. I've gone all over the house looking for you, and I can't find your car in the driveway." Y'all, I'd never been there. Listen, I canceled my lessons, and I got in the car, and I came on home. So we had some of those kind of things. And there'll still be sometimes he hears things that nobody else hears. Lots of animals making sounds. In the beginning, I tried to talk him out of them and say, "Babe, there's nobody there. This is not happening. I don't know what you're talking about." And since I have, especially the people at Shands helped me out with this, I don't correct him. First of all, he believes they're there. So there's not going to change that. And second of all, he's not upset or anything. I just say, "Well, he'll see somebody outside that's not there," and he'll say, "What are those people doing?" And I'll say, "Well, they're just going to walk through. They'll be gone in a while. Don't worry about them. They're nice people." And we go about our business. And that's what I'm learning to do. However, he was tested. They spent all day with him at Shands down there in Gainesville, and they did a lot of tests, so thorough, and they are not sure it is Lewy body. They think it may be something that he does have a diagnosis of dementia, but it's not digressing. They don't understand. His brain scan came up, hadn't really changed hardly at all in a year. They don't understand that. So, we have a strong faith system, and we have a lot of people praying, but y'all, it's a very fine line of standing in faith and believing that we serve a mighty God and not being in denial and getting the proper treatment that your husband needs. And I believe in what we believe is God is sovereign. His will is always sovereign. And we pray because the Word of God tells us to pray. But in the meantime, we're going to be preparing, and we know what we need to do. But we're thankful it's moving slow. So anyway, their diagnosis is he has dementia with behavioral disturbances that is digressing slowly. But they did talk to me, and mostly his issues are short-term memory. And it is my job to do a lot of things. Most people, when they're around him, you'll see him on videos. He's wonderful. You wouldn't even notice it. He's never forgot anybody's name. He's not gotten lost driving or driving home or anything. But there's a lot of short-term confusion. His issue is receiving information, processing it, and acting on it. So procedures, list of things. Technology's very, very difficult. So staying on task is very, very difficult. So I've done a lot of crying. We both have. This man has taken care of me for 50 years. And the hardest thing for me has been, the overwhelming thing for me, has been that I am now taking care of everything in terms of financial, managing the house, managing everything. And y'all, I can't count how many times I have wakened in the middle of the night in almost a panic attack, wondering how I'm going to do life without him if it comes to that. So yeah, it's been hard for me. I have had multiple people look at me and say, "This is not about you." And that's been a little hurtful for me. No, it's not happening to my body, to my brain, but it is happening to us. So he feels so bad that he can't still do things. And he will still, I'll look out in the backyard, he might be up on a ladder, and I'll be like, oh my God. These kind of things. And some of that is just getting old. Y'all, we forget we're not young anymore. That's another whole video. But I have to learn. The caregiver part's hard for me. I am. Anyway. So once we got through the shock of it in the beginning, then we decided we were going to take every day and find something to enjoy together. I don't care if it's sitting out on the porch. I don't care. One time we went to one of those car wash places and we went and washed our car together, and it was fun. It was really fun when Butch pushed the wrong button, didn't put his foot on the brake, whatever he was doing, and we about broke the whole thing. But anyway, we laughed and laughed. We will laugh at our dogs. We spend time doing things like that. But I spend a lot of time on my knees, and it's just another phase. One of my dear friends said to me when this started, they said, Linda, this is going to require a deeper level of surrender. And she's talking about surrender to God than you've ever known. And she was absolutely right and still is. But y'all, let me tell you what. I started this channel because I wanted a place to share, and in this particular situation, I may use y'all for a place to do a little bit of venting. I have a few close friends and a daughter-in-law that I can call up and melt down, and I've done it. I promise I will try not to melt down on this channel, but I want you to know that if y'all have any comments about what you're going through, if it's been similar or anything, please do make your comments. I'll take all of them. I'm looking into support groups and all. Everybody's on my case to do it, so I will. I'm going to look into support groups, and but I want to look at y'all like a support group, if you don't mind. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate any comments you make. And if you feel like that you would love to join us, please subscribe, give me a like, and hit that bell. And y'all be blessed today. You don't have to look too far to see how blessed you are. And find something to smile about.